I always wanted to make money on the internet. I was like, man, why the fuck would I sit in an office for 40 hours? Like, it doesn't even make any sense to me working for someone else if I can just do the same thing.
Welcome to the Never Employed Chat. My name is Sam, and I interview people who make a living beyond salary jobs, entrepreneurs, business owners, and investors, so that we can learn from their stories together. There are many great ways to make a living, and even more ways to wealth. At Never Employed, we encourage you to think of alternatives to employment jobs. What would you do if a salary job was simply no option? When we scheduled the call, I actually wondered what happens in a life so that one has an assistant who schedules appointments instead of scheduling appointments yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question to ask, and this kind of like circles back to me being in Kiev last year in August, when I was talking to a good friend of mine, Nick Shackelford, and he was asking me like, "Hey, do you have an executive assistant?" I'm like, "No." And he was like, "Man, you need one. Like, ever since I've had one, my life is getting so much easier." Because essentially what she's doing, imagine it kind of like a back office where she's not necessarily doing invoices, but like handling all of the communication, like everything that is redundant and pretty much just taking up time, right? So like, luckily I have her, that she's being like that, essentially that she's able to take care of all of that stuff while I can just stay focused and not have to deal with that kind of stuff. Because if there's like a query incoming or an inquiry of whatever it is, whether it is a podcast or a keynote or this or that, or I need to book a flight, like why would I bother doing that? Like, is that going to make me more money at the end of the day? Like, is it really going to maximize the effort that I have or the output that I have from my respective time? And I don't think that's the case. So like having an assistant is a fucking amazing thing.
Yeah, sounds like you're really, really focused on the essential things. And I wonder how did this start? Where did you, at which point in your life did you realize that there are generally things on which you want to focus and other things which are not so much worth focusing on?
Yeah. So in my opinion, it kind of goes back to, if you're thinking about, is like what is really going to be maximizing my output, not only in terms of Pareto principle, so 80-20, but really like what is going to drive the needle, what is going to drive the point home, what is going to make me more money? How can I, with my time, which is the most precious asset in the world, how can I make use of that in the most effective way? And me doing some kind of business development or networking with other people is a way better use of time, as opposed to me replying to some emails, which is taking up like 5 or 10 minutes of my time and super draining in focus, right? So I think it really goes back to that, if I have to be honest, because again, like, does it really make sense for the founder of a huge company, whether it is a Fortune 500 company or a huge agency, to, like book his own flight tickets, if someone else can do it the same way,
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. So then in which situation are you, on what kind of businesses or ventures are you currently working, or generally what did you do until the point now?
Yeah. So it kind of started back in December 2017. So I enrolled in uni in October 2016. Did all my stuff, and I like essentially not being really good in uni initially, watching all these tutorials for years, like how to make money online and all the CPA affiliate stuff where it's like locked content where you have to opt in with your email, and the affiliates make money with a single opt-in or a double opt-in with the email confirmation. So kind of like started December 2017 when I stumbled upon dropshipping, did like a lot of research for months, which apparently was not enough, because I ended up buying fake traffic on Fiverr and influencer shoutouts from fake pages, from fake theme pages. But yeah, that kind of like piqued my interest, because I always wanted to make money on the internet. I was like, man, why the fuck would I sit in an office for 40 hours? Like, it doesn't even make any sense to me working for someone else if I can just do the same thing, right? Working in a job is not really, like, it's not really going to satisfy me. waking up in the morning, 7 a.m., doing my breakfast, taking a shower, going to the office, being back home at 4 p.m., maybe, going out with a few friends for dinner and having drinks, or even having to cook because you don't have enough money because your employer doesn't pay you enough. It's like, yeah, in my opinion, not really the life that I wanted, which, made me have the entire drive to actually, work on my businesses. So started in December 2017 with dropshipping, ventured into my agency called Adcubator in August 2018, where we're just doing, kind of a growth agency for Google ads, for other D2C ecom brands that are doing anywhere from 7 to 10 figures a year. So we're working with a few pretty big clients, running a few ecom brands myself. Still, I was running an pretty much an education company called Ecom Incubator, split with my business partner just last month, so November 2022. But that did really good, did like 7 figures in the first year of business. And doing some affiliate stuff on the side, investing in a few other agencies and just plug and playing my knowledge into their business so we can just grow it and compound. But yeah, that's what I do. Ecom, agencies, affiliate, some filling around on the side. Yeah.
So if I understand that correctly, you initially started with your own ecom brand and took that knowledge to build your agency and help others to do something similar, right? Or
kind of, because back then I didn't really know what I was doing, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't even have a single sale. However, I was able to sell that dropshipping store as a pre-built store within a Facebook group. And at the end of the day, I made like $250 in profit, which was like 236 euros. And at the end of the day, I made money. And then I think it was on Black Hat World that I saw this one guy making money with Google ads and just making because he knew Google ads. And the first month he did 10K. He said, I'm going to do 10K in the first month. And then he showed the entire process of how he approached clients, how he got his clients, made 10K in the first month. I'm like, fuck, this guy had a skill and monetized it to 10K in the first month. Why couldn't I do that? So I started getting clients, had my first client, didn't know what the hell I was doing. So of course I got a course because I didn't want to just spend their money. Took that course, Google ads from Isaac Rudansky on Udemy. It was like $10, $13, whatever, the classic Udemy courses, and learned about lead generation back then for dentists, for law firms, for that kind of stuff, for real estate. And then it ventured back into ecom, Google ads for ecom. And I was like, man, I know what the fuck I'm doing right now. And I still have some knowledge from ecom. So might as well just combine both of them and just start my own stores again. And that's the story behind it. Yeah.
Okay. So you basically, circled around between different parts like Shopify and Google ads and eventually put that knowledge together to a working business. That's kind of cool, I think, because I see many people struggling with exactly that. So they just look at other people and people online who share parts of what they do and how they build their businesses, but of course not everything. And then people just try to copy that. But as you just described it, you took knowledge from different parts of different business parts and put them together to a working business.
Pretty much, yeah. Back then it was kind of like freelancing, right? Mm-hmm. And then at some point I've kind of transitioned to an agency because I knew I couldn't do all the media buying myself. So I started to hire, and then it went from freelancing to an agency. And it went from kind of drop shipping to brands and to kind of like a hybrid model with holding stock in the respective countries in the US and also holding stock in China and just shipping from China and shipping from the US, depending on, how much stock I had, because lead times somewhere were pretty ass, especially in 2020. If we're taking a look at the container crisis. But that's how it started, from freelancing to, kind of like drop shipping after, and then to kind of converting into an agency because I made a few hires.
I saw on your TikTok account, I saw a short video where you described that it makes super much sense to start with a cash flowing business And that's essentially what you also did to invest in bigger ventures, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, right now, as of now, my agency is still my biggest cash cow. My agency is still throwing off the biggest profit, not only percentage wise, but also monetary wise. But like right now, we're scaling all of the ecom brands, so it's kind of like, you know, we're seeing a trend that all of the brands are growing really incrementally significant. So we're seeing a trend that if we're going to continue the current volume, we're probably going to make more money from the ecom brands, and probably by April or May, depending on how fast things go, right? Because I mean, especially if we're talking about Chinese New Year's, it's going to be the longest one that I've ever experienced. It's going to be 1.5 months. So I mean, I'm curious how that's going to go, because we need to already order stock within the next 1.5 weeks, pretty much, or even, yeah, I think within the next week. I think 21st or 22nd is my cutoff time. And then it's kind of like almost 2 months of, you know, factories not working. So we'll see how that goes.
And what do you actually do with the when you work with your agency for other businesses? What do you actually do for them? What's your task there?
Within the business of my agency or the service?
Yeah, both actually.
Okay, if we're talking about Accubator, the only thing that we're doing is done for you Google Ads management. So we're doing all of the research, market research, competitor research, keyword research, you know, checking if the product market fit is even there, doing all the unit economic calculations to see if it makes sense for us to run their ads, you know, because like it doesn't make sense for us if the cogs of them are 40, 50%, because it's way too high, provided there's not enough margin. You can make it work, but if there's too little margin monetary wise, let's say your AOV is 50 and your unit economics are like 50%, like I'm not going to be able to get a CPA of 25 on scale on Google long-term. Like it's impossible, because at the end of the day with Google, on most of the outlets that you have, on most of the campaign types that you have, you're paying for a click, right? So the conversion rate needs to be in the double digits to be even, break even, which sometimes doesn't make sense. So this is what we're doing. This is the service that we're offering. And of course, we're also doing conversion rate optimization, which is an agency that I'm invested in, accelerated agency, which is done for you conversion rate optimization. So anything from the research to designing to implementing the tests to hard coding it. So the implementation, the coding. What I'm doing at Accelerated is business development, you know, kind of like telling the team, the founder team, the C-level, hey, like this is the direction that we need to head into. This is what we need to do. This is the game plan. These are the OKRs. This is where we need to be short-term, mid-term, long-term, developing new products, developing new product ideas, developing new service ideas, you know, kind of like also the networking part where I'm with Carl, my well, pretty much I'd say he's the CMO, like pushing him into other people sometimes, like, hey, like, you know, like talk to this guy. But he's doing an amazing job. Lars as well. Like no one is talking about Lars, but Lars is the pretty much COO holding down all of the operations, making sure the fulfillment is good. And it's amazing because he doesn't like to be in front of the scenes. What I'm doing at Accubator, I'm the lead media buyer. So I'm managing a few accounts, you know, but I'm overseeing all of the accounts and making sure performance is good. Like not actually checking the accounts, but checking if, you know, the reporting that my media buyers do and see if the numbers make sense, if we're growing, you know, checking the data studio, checking the sheets and everything. But of course, also the rest from, you know, hiring, qualification, training, team calls, client calls, depending with what client, you know. I'm managing a few accounts myself, not all of them, probably just like 7 or 8. But yeah, that's what I do at the end of the day. And pretty much just like CEO stuff. So making sure we have visibility, making sure if someone churns that we get, you know, a new client, making sure we have good retention. And if we're talking about retention, the first client that I've ever had, August 2018, we're still running with that client. So our retention is pretty good.
Yeah, that's really cool. If you have such long-term clients and can really build like deep connections and relationships, and get to know each other very well.
For sure, because it's developing into a friendship, and not only like, this agency client cliche that it's like super transactional. Because like I prefer it to be like, I mean, it has pros and cons, because if you fuck up, you don't want to be the guy who goes into the friend niche type of thing and like, oh, sorry, we fucked up, but like, like this needs to be professional, and you shouldn't have to be there with your face of friendship to be accountable for a mistake that you or your team did. If your team did the mistake, well, you did the mistake at the end of the day, because you have to take ownership for your team, right? But yeah, I think it's important to kind of like, not only be 100% transactional. It depends. We have some clients that we're only transactional with, but with most of our clients, I'd say, not the corporate ones, but if we're talking about the bootstrap brands, not the brands that raised capital or did a Series A, Series B, Series C, whatever. With these brands, we're pretty close, especially with the founders. Yeah.
Yeah. Then this may be a nice introduction to another question. So, what would you say are the trade-offs of being a successful entrepreneur and even a successful serial entrepreneur?
So the good thing is, I can travel the world. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can travel to any place. I can hang out with the people I want to. I don't have to look at the price if I'm going to purchase something. If I wanted to get a Lambo, I can get a Lambo. I don't need to look at the price tag, because I know, okay, like I'm able to afford it, right? The con, I mean, there's the benefits are just outweighing all of the cons, in my opinion, because the cons are like, well, you have to work longer, you have to work harder, as opposed to a 9-to-5 corporate job. Yeah, all of the benefits are outweighing all of the cons, because it's like some of the things are just connected to the long working hours, to the ownership, high stress. You have to be super stress tolerant, which mostly I am. Sometimes not really. But it depends again, because, if you have the ownership and everything, then you're good. Because it's kind of like in Germany, when there's someone and the Ministry of Finance is coming to you and you need to pay something, well, you need to pay within 14 days, right? And there's no way around it. You need to pay. If not, you're screwed. You can't do anything about it. However, you don't like dealing with that kind of stuff with taxes and everything, but you know that you still have to deal with it. So, might as well deal with it now and just embrace it and not like cry about it and be scared about it and be anxious about it. So I'd say the downsides are more on the mental side, because like I don't enjoy grinding. I used to enjoy grinding a lot, like working 12, 14 hours, 16 hours a day and just sleeping little. I used to enjoy that. Now I enjoy more my freedom, being able to travel, being able to take it easy, being able to have a C-level, being able to have someone else in place that is able to replace me, where I do not have to do as much as I should be or would have to if I wouldn't have that replacement. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like that's pretty much it. There's like so much stuff we could talk about it, but it's like it's kind of like a question like, what can you do with money? Because if we're talking about money, if you have money brings more problems, but it brings different problems, right? Because you have to be aware of like, oh, who's in my circle, who am I friends with, who's just there to, take advantage of me. But then again, pretty much everyone in my circle is doing exactly what I'm doing. They're in ecom, they're in marketing, they're making a fuck ton of money. So, like I don't really have that problem. So it's like more money, more problems, but different problems. And the problems are more like on the, stress resilience side of things, mental side of things. So if you're tough, I think it's a good choice to be an entrepreneur for sure.
Yeah. You just told that you're surrounded by other founders who do different similar things than you. Do you think that's required to become or to be successful? I mean, there's this saying of you're the sum of or the product of the people around you. Do you believe in that?
Yes and no, because I think it's easier if you have people around you who have the same drive, who have the same mentality, who want to achieve the same things as you. However, I did not have that when I was starting out because everyone was in uni, everyone was enrolled with me. I wasn't really talking about what I was doing to anyone. Just did like my own shit. But I feel like it's easier because you're kind of like pulling along one string, and everyone wants to achieve the same thing. And if you're really trying to make it, having people who want to grind just as hard as you, it's super motivating, and it keeps you well, it keeps the consistency there, because you see all of your friends are doing the same thing. It's kind of like in uni, 10 people, 9 of them are in the library and you're at home. Like, how would you feel if you know that all of your friends are in the library and studying for this upcoming exam that is super hard? Like, are you going to stay at home and feel good about it? Or are you just going to, go to the library and maybe study and, be surrounded by your people? So I feel like having the same type of people around you is amazing. It's not mandatory. If you have it, it's better. And if we're talking about, like someone who has already made some good progress, someone who's making money and everything, I think it's 100% required because, and I'm going to tell you why, if you are the type of person who, makes 50K a month, which is if you're in a 9 to 5, as opposed to a 9 to 5, 50K is a fuck ton of money. 50K is what some people make in a year after a master's degree, right? Of course, not talking about taxes and everything, but let's say 50K. So if you're that type of person who doesn't have people around himself, people tend to get complacent because comfort breeds complacency. And if you don't have anyone to look up to, if you don't have people doing the same numbers or more, preferably more, then it's getting hard, because once I made money, I had these people around me and everyone was pushing. And it's not really like you're trying to flex, but imagine it kind of like a game, right? And I'm super competitive. I always want to win. It doesn't matter if it's chess or whatever it is, not really finishing one's food first, but like super competitive, especially when it comes to games, right? And in my opinion, business is a game. And I want to be the type of guy who, wrecks their friends where everyone is like, damn, that guy, which is a good thing because on the one hand, it's motivating. But on the other hand, if you're the only guy who pulls in these numbers and you don't have anyone to look up to, anyone who can, teach you how to go from 10 mil to 100 mil, for example, in yearly revenue, again, you're going to be kind of stuck, right? So it's always like climbing the ladder and always like moving up into, higher levels of entrepreneurship, I'd say. So yeah, like definitely having people around you who are as hungry as you is critical, in my opinion. It's a non-negotiable, to be honest.
And then again, the question referring to your friends who surround you, aren't you kind of competitors also? Or to which extent are you competitors if you are all in e-commerce and all doing like kind of similar stuff?
Yes and no, because at the end of the day, there's one thing that Nick always likes to say. He says, I believe there is enough for everyone to eat. And I think so as well, because, it doesn't matter if someone else in the market in the same niche is my friend or not, because if he's gone, there's going to be someone else in there, right? So you might as well support your homies, help them and just make sure that, you're both making a shitload of money and are able to scale. Like, of course, when I'm with my friends, I'm not like, oh, this is the product that I'm running or this is the brand that I have. Because this is like, it's kind of like a curse in ecom, because everyone always knows like what the business name is, and then everyone looks in the imprint, especially in Germany. But like if you have the different setup, if you have a Hong Kong setup, if you have a UK setup, if you have a Dubai setup, it's super hard to look for that. And people are, taking screenshots of their address and everything, putting it in the imprint, so you can't really search for it unless you have the image and can reverse image search it on Google. So like essentially all my friends were just talking about numbers, what we're doing, but we're not talking about the products. I know from a few of my friends, they don't know that I know, but I know. But like even my one business partner, my roommate, He doesn't know what I'm running. We've talked about it. And he kind of found out, but I haven't confirmed it with him. It's kind of like a game of cat and mouse, so to say. But no, like 100%, you should always support, because I think the market is big enough. Like imagine there's like 8 billion people in the world living. So, if someone else is in the market, I'm still going to make the same amount of money or even more, because there's just more demand for it. So
that's funny. If I understand that correctly, that's like you spend time with your friends and you kind of talk about your business, but you don't really talk about the details of which product you actually sell. Yeah.
And that's the most funny thing about dropshippers, because everyone is always like so secretive and everyone is scared of, revealing their products. And like, to be honest, I know people who are sending fake DMCAs. So like, not the real DMCAs, but like making a fake site, stealing the pictures, reporting it, your site is down, you're spending money on ads, and you just got wrecked by like 5 or 10,000. And like, this is how people are. People are always talking. It doesn't matter if it's your best friend or someone else. People are always talking, and they're always going to talk to some other people, and they don't even have to do it on purpose. But at some point they might leak some kind of information that they shouldn't have said. And I feel like this happened to everyone. It doesn't matter if it's an ecom or you talking to your friend, or, like, this is a girl I had something with, and then you're telling it your one friend, and then he's not supposed to say it, but he says it. And then she's like, oh, why did you say it? So it's like the word always goes around, whether it's on purpose or accidentally. So yeah, like, we're talking about business, but also not really. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this actually enforces the point that it doesn't really make sense to follow any like drop shipping advice on TikTok or YouTube or anything. So what you just said, actually just says that as soon as you find these products online, it's actually too late.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, because sometimes at the end of the day, it's a creative game, right? Because if a product is out there, everyone is using the same creatives. So how can you differentiate yourself from your competitors? Well, by having different creatives. You can have the same exact landing page. Doesn't matter. What's really going to make or break the ice is either, or preferably, the creative and the offer. And if you can differentiate yourself with both of these things, then whatever, take any winning product. In my opinion, winning products don't exist. Sometimes there's like a thing when there's something going viral, when there's a lot of demand, kind of like the TikTok leggings, when the search queries are just pumping up, right? And then you can decide, oh, I want to be the person who hops on the trend. And then it could be like a trending product, and you could make it an evergreen product, because like the leggings, you can still sell it nowadays. I know a brand selling the leggings still up to this day, right? Or not only one brand, but I know one German brand for a fact, but there's probably like a few other brands who are selling it. But in my opinion, I'm trying to stay away from all of these trendy products, because I'm not, trying to hop on a trend. Like, I used to do that a few times, not a lot of times, but handful of times. But now what we're doing is just building sustainable things that are evergreen, that, kind of like niche stores, I'd say, where you have products that are evergreen throughout the entire year. And then you have things which are sometimes just seasonal during the winter, during the summer, because that way, you can still work on the product. You can improve the quality. You have something seasonal for the winter. You can have something seasonal for the summer. And I feel like it's what every brand has. If we're talking about Waterdrop has like these small droplets for water, which is for summer. Then I think they did something new for sports. They have the tea when you're drinking tea in the summer or winter. Well, probably winter. So you could kind of like look at it as well, that they're spending more money on ads in winter for the micro tea, as opposed to spending more money in summer for the micro tea. But then they're, just raising the budget on the regular drops. So yeah, I prefer evergreen things.
And I imagine that it's not so easy to find these evergreens.
depends, because some things are more competitive than others, right? And some things you don't know for a fact if they're validated, because no one really has been running them. Because everyone says, oh, like you need to go for unsaturated products. And of course you could do that, right? You could be an early adopter, kind of like NFTs. There have been early adopters who've ventured from e-commerce to NFTs and made millions of dollars just by the creation and shilling of NFTs without any utility. Or you could be a late adopter, miss the entire trend, because I didn't do anything with NFTs. I bought like 10K worth of NFTs, lost like 90% of my money, lost access to my wallet, so I don't even have them. So I pretty much lost all the money. Probably was like 12K even. Doesn't matter, whatever. And there could be products that are sold for years by thousands of competitors. And this is actually something that we're doing, because I know for a fact if our offer is better, if our landing page is better, and if our creatives are better, then we're going to be able to really differentiate ourselves from the competitors, right? So it's kind of like, what kind of market are you looking for? Are you looking for a blue ocean, or are you looking for a red ocean where there's like everyone fighting and fighting and fighting? And of course, it's also like capital dependent on how much money you want to have invested and deployed into that respective brand, product, whatsoever.
Then is there something you'd recommend to people who are just starting, or maybe a bit different? How would you start if you'd start again? And would you even start an ecom, or what would you actually do?
It's a great question. And like, actually, I've been asked that question probably like on events like 5 or 6 times last month. So what I would do, I would go for a service, any type of service, because this is how I, kind of like made my first real money. So I would do it again. And I feel like this is the easiest way to start. Do a service, do it for free, get some testimonials, get really good at it, buy a few courses, see how you can improve your, service. Could be anything from Google Ads management to maybe creating UGC. So learning how to video edit with Premiere Pro, learning how to do creative strategy, for example. And then you can sell 20 creatives for 4,000, 6,000 that are fully done. And then it could literally just be like 5 different concepts, or probably like 5 different concepts with 2 hooks each, for example. Could be as simple as that. And then you can sell that for 4,000 to 6,000. And then on top, you could do TikTok ads management, for example, or you could just start as a UGC creator and do that. Personally, I would start in, probably actually sourcing UGC creators, getting the content, doing the entire video editing. I don't know how to video edit, but I would have to learn that, because there's like a boatload of tutorials on YouTube. Learn how to video edit, sell these creatives, learn how to do TikTok ads, sell the management on top, and charge percentage on ad spend. And then like start to hire. At some point, if you're doing a really good job, it's just like building the personal brand, tweeting on Twitter, building your LinkedIn, deciding for a market, right? So do I really want to be seen in the US like myself, or do I really want to be seen in Germany? Which kind of also applies to me, but I'm like within the agency, we're mostly working with brands in the US, also some German brands. But yeah, just build momentum, make some key hires, creative strategist, video editor, take care of your personal brand, get more clients. And at some point, you're going to be making 100K a month at 80% profit, 90% profit, probably like, even if you're doing 60% profit at 100K, that's super healthy. And then what you want to do then is take that money and look into investment opportunities. Like, what can I do with the money? You can, like, for example, in Germany, if you have 50K, you can buy a house like that. You can buy real estate, super easy. So really depends on, what kind of interests you and where you want to make your money and where you want to deploy it. But that's exactly what I would do right now if I would have to start all over again.
Yeah, that as you describe it, it really sounds that easy. But I see many people trying lots of stuff, and I think for many people it's actually not that easy. But you wrapped it up very, very great, I think. And is there anything you're currently struggling with, or where you see challenges for yourself, or where people may eventually help you?
Yes. Something that I've been struggling with was creative strategy, coming up with different concepts, being able to really like do the creative thinking, because I'm more analytical and being able to solve problems creatively, but I'm not like, oh, like this is the way we could do things creatively, as in creative strategy, as in videos, as in ads. I'm getting into that. So I like really systemize the entire creative strategy, all of the sheets that we're using, all of the templates that we're using, all of the ad styles that we're using. And so that I've done, and I'm still doing it myself, the entire briefings. So this is a key hire I need to make, which is kind of a problem because it's eating up my time and I shouldn't be doing it. And I know someone for 2,000-3,000 would be able to do it. But I wanted to write the job post today. Haven't done it because I was stuck in meetings all day. This is like, I mean, as I've mentioned before, this is like the 8th meeting. So just like hiring faster right now. And especially during Q4, it's kind of like hard, especially all of the projections. If you have new SKUs, to really project the amount of SKUs that you want to sell or amount of units for the respective SKU. That's something we're struggling with for sure. But hiring a media buyer for Facebook, because we're still doing all of the tedious campaign setup, and it's so freaking annoying. It takes like 2-3 hours a day. And like, thankfully, I don't have to do it, but my business partner is doing it. But like, we need to get a media buyer who, you know, he doesn't even need to scale. He just needs to set up campaigns and trim the fat and cut all the losers and just make decisions really data driven. So these are probably like the most important things that, or most critical things that we are struggling with at the moment. Yeah.
So if people think they're skilled for that, does it make sense to reach out to you somewhere, or do you prefer to find people?
For sure. Like we're going to have the job postings nonetheless, but if there is anyone listening to this who feels that they're qualified, whether they're a creative strategist or a media buyer, man, hit me up and let's talk. Like, I need this ASAP.
So where can people find you then?
I feel like Instagram is the best channel for that. Maybe Twitter, LinkedIn, but Instagram is the go-to. The Instagram is JEMBOUROUH. So my full name. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Then thank you a lot for taking the time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Thank you for taking part in this Never Employed Chat. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interviews with business owners and investors, or simply listen to the audio version in your favorite podcast directory. Make sure to follow me on all your preferred social media platforms, so that you never miss life-changing business tips. You find me on every platform with the account name samhartmann.com. Start a business, become successful, and tell me about it. See you next time.